What do you regret not doing? Now, today's episode is about a particular moment of what I regret not doing on the other side of transitioning out of the Marine Corps. Before that story, though, I want to rewind a little bit of what my mindset was. So, getting out of the Marine Corps, I felt like my life was on pause. I didn't do a lot of dating. I knew that I didn't want to start a family when I was in the Marine Corps. And I was ready to live life and discover what life was about. And that's a loaded way to say it, but that's kind of how I felt. I had lived in Okinawa for 3 years, and part of that, I was enjoying it, but I was just going through the motions. I really wasn't engaging with what I perceived life to be. And on the other side of getting out, I was ready to run and be independent and be an adult and do all these big things. I remember coming home. I lived at my parents' house for a couple weeks, and I was like, got to get out of here because I was independent. I was already living on my own before. I feel like I was going backwards. I've got to spend that money on an apartment to get that rent and to get that freedom that I was looking for, or what I thought I was looking for. I got that job, and I was just in a hurry to catch up. Other people were having kids. Other people were getting married, and I really felt behind. But feeling behind, I really wasn't thinking logically. I was acting out of fear of falling behind on this idea of life in other people's ways, not my own way. And I didn't really figure out what my life was at that point. It probably wasn't until another 14 years later that I really started figuring out what that was. But going back to regret, I regret not pausing, not taking a moment to truly explore, feel, travel, and experience life. I was caught up on what I call, and what you probably have heard of, the American dream. Because what I perceived the American dream was, it wasn't really a dream. It ended up being more like a hell. Because to me, the American dream was that you go out, start a family, you buy a house, you get those cars that you want, you get that career, you get that title, you get that degree, and all of those things have one underlying thread to them. They all have a lot of debt. And debt forces you to keep making decisions that you no longer want to continue making, but you have debt, so you just got to keep going. And I felt stuck even more. It was one of the things that led up to my first midlife crisis when I turned 30, was that feeling of stuck. I'm like, I'm doing all this stuff, but the American dream ended up being a hell. And if I go back to getting out of the Marine Corps, the advice that I really wish I would have had and done is breathe, paused, really reflect on what I learned. Because the advice I give other people transitioning in and out of the military is, this isn't your first transition. You actually transitioned in to the military with goals, ambitions, dreams. Go visit those. Then come talk to me about the transition out, because you need to look at it from both sides. And I didn't have that advice. I didn't have either of those. I was just running on what the Marine Corps had told me for a transition program. Get your degree, get a job. There will be unicorns and rainbows waiting for you at the end. And there wasn't. Now, why do I tell you this story? Because I want you to understand that regret is one of the most powerful emotions that I think a man can carry. Because regret means that you didn't do something that you needed to do today, or what you knew today really could have helped you 3 years ago. I would have loved having a podcast like this 7 years ago, but I didn't. I wish there was someone out there doing this. I wish I would have even clicked that little purple icon on all those years that I had an iPhone and never did. Think of how much knowledge is behind that purple icon if you're an iPhone user, but most people never click it to really understand. The power of regret will keep you stuck, because I have two choices. I could either hold on to the regret and sadness that is not trying to do it differently when I first got out, or I could try to pivot from where I'm at now and continue to moving forward. There's a great quote by C.S. Lewis that says, "You can't go back and start a new beginning, but at any moment in your life, you can choose to start and write a new ending." And that is so true. And there's another great Chinese proverb that says there are 2 times that are good to plant a tree: 20 years ago and today. And so today, I only want you to do some reflection. Where does regret sit heavy in your life? Where do you need to choose to let it go? And how are you going to let it go, give yourself the freedom to breathe and the freedom to make a new choice today? I'll be back again with you tomorrow.